Of Stories for Salem, and I'm here to tell you just a little bit more about what we're here to do. So I'd like to start off by thanking all of the people who helped this event come to fruition, specifically the Bezos Family Foundation who sponsored this event, my advisor John Biblebis, and all of you for coming out tonight, because it would not have happened without you. All right, now for the good stuff. When I was accepted into the Bezos Scholars Program almost a year ago, and tasked to create change in my community, my mind immediately jumped to how I could utilize student journalism for this purpose. We'll be distributing a publication later on, and you'll get to see what I mean. Because when we're storytellers, we are a megaphone to other people's stories, and when we're a megaphone to other people's stories, we get to empathize, and that's a big deal, especially in today's diverse environment. So it made sense to look at to use journalism to look at diversity in Salem, because storytelling can foster that empathy. We're forced as storytellers to reach outside our comfort zones, and that's a good thing. Because whether we like it or not, we all share an ecosystem, whether you consider that ecosystem the city of Salem, the state of Oregon, or the United States of America, or something much larger. And so that's what we're here tonight to foster connections. Okay, so our agenda is we'll have our speakers go, and they'll talk about the importance of storytelling and talk about two different aspects of diversity in our community. And then at the end, we'll distribute the publication, and you guys get some more food, and just talk to each other, because that's what tonight is all about, is conversation. Okay, without further ado, I present to you our first speaker, Dick Hughes.
Oh, wow, a timer. Okay. Second by second, it's going down. I'm losing time. This is just utterly amazing what Casey and her colleagues have done here. I worked on a high school paper, and I never accomplished anything as powerful as this. Several years ago, my wife and our dog and I stumbled upon Newspaper Rock in the middle of nowhere, Utah. Newspaper Rock is covered with petroglyphs. Drawing. This just went out. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Newspaper Rock is covered with petroglyphs, which are drawings on sandstone that tell stories. And these drawings go back thousands of years to BC, before Christ. And the name of Newspaper Rock comes from, and you might find this an amazing coincidence, the Navajo Indian words for rock that tells stories. That's as good as my humor gets, so you gotta laugh at this. Okay. Fast forward to another event several years ago at our house. Our kids were home from college or careers. Our daughter went to West Salem. She was in the freshman class the first year here. Our son went to South. And they had a lot of their friends over. Our house is tiny. It was noisy. It was interesting. It was delightful. And I knew the stories of some of the young people who were there. And what struck me was the diversity, gay and straight, men and women. Christians, Jews, Hindus, probably atheists and agnostics too, and various varieties of theology within those groups. But what was so remarkable was the noise, the din from storytelling. Humans are storytellers. Storytelling is the oldest craft in the world. I talked a minute ago about the ancients and how they told stories. Today we do it with iPhones and videos and all sorts of other things, text messages. But stories are what bind us together. I'm so proud of what Casey and her colleagues have done here, because it's about telling stories that we come together, that we get to know one another. Now, sometimes some people get hung up in our differences told by the stories. But if you look around, just look around, look behind you. All of these people have faces, and they have body parts somewhat similar to yours. They may have thoughts different from yours, but most of them are about family, about friends, and things like that. And when we hear one another's stories, we recognize the commonality of what brings us together instead of focusing on the few differences. That's one reason journalism is so important. I went into journalism because writing was the easiest thing I knew how to do. It's been described as opening a vein and letting the blood flow out because it's so torturous to write. It is not easy, but I'm not a plumber. I have no other useful skills. I'm not a carpenter. But through journalism, we tell stories. Journalism has been described as the first draft of history. And that's why it's so important to read newspapers and to read a variety of opinions and ideas that conflict with our own. Besides, it's pretty dull hanging out with people whose beliefs and ideas and traditions are just like your own. You know, I've always been a contrarian who wanted to hang out with people whose views were very different from mine. And it is why journalism, whether at West Salem High School or at the New York Times or at Grant Elementary School in Tacoma, Washington, where I got my start as a sixth grader for our class newspaper writing about the fire truck that visited outdoor school. It's why journalism is so important. Stories bind people together. It has been said that there are only 4 or 5 common themes in life. Certainly the ancient Greeks knew that. One of those, of course, is triumph and tragedy. But there's so many variations on those themes. And when we tell those stories, they bring us together. So go forth, tell stories, and more important, listen to others' stories. Listen, not interrupting, listen not to make a point, but listen to learn. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just getting the timer back up. Okay, so our next speaker is Jennifer Barishoff, and she's an advisor to Stand for Refugees and founder of the Ariana Welcome House for Refugees.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to speak as loudly as Dick, unfortunately. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes? Well, I feel very honored that my story is interwoven with refugee stories and with Salem's new story of new neighbors. I have been working with refugees for 10 years, and I feel like my whole life has been a preparation for this work that I've gotten to do for the last 10 years. I began working with refugees with the International Rescue Committee in Tucson, Arizona. And my very first work was working as a case manager for refugees with disabilities. And my very first client was Abdi and his brother Muhammad. And Abdi and Muhammad had escaped Somalia to Kenya as a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And in the process of fleeing, their whole family was killed. So they arrived at the refugee camp, just the 2 of them. And I met them as they were trying to get services from us. And Muhammad had always cared for, Abdi had always cared for Muhammad, his at that time 2-year-old brother who was severely developmentally disabled. And over the process of working with them, finally Abdi trusted us enough to have his brother start going to a care center during the day. And Abdi began to go to school. When I went back to visit them a few years ago, Abdi was finishing up his master's at the University of Arizona, and he was married and had his own child. And his brother Muhammad was doing really well. He'd started to speak and learn English. And to me, that is the refugee story. It's a story of faithfulness, of resourcefulness, of resiliency, of starting a new life, and of thriving when there are opportunities. And that just inspired me to keep going. That story inspired me to keep going. So I don't know how much you all know, just in general, about the refugee story, but I think most of you know that there are about 60 million, more than 60 million displaced people now and more than 20 million of them have been designated as refugees by UNHCR. And I'm very proud to say that the United States has the largest and best organized refugee resettlement program in the world. And I'm a part of that, and Salem is a part of that. So I think most of you are probably interested in what's going on in Salem. So since 2015, April 2015, we have resettled about 150 refugees to Salem. Catholic Charities was the first resettlement agency to begin to bring refugees to Salem, and I was a part of that. The first family we resettled was from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and many of you have probably heard about the family because the Statesman Journal did a story about Joel and his family. Since then, Lutheran Community Services has begun to resettle refugees, and because Salem is a really unique place, we have kind of started to do resettlement really differently here than it's done anywhere else in the country. We have decided that it's our community's responsibility to welcome and embrace our new neighbors. So the resettlement agencies are very important, and they're the ones with a contract with the State Department to do the work. But our whole community has taken it upon itself to welcome and resettle and walk alongside refugees. And the organization that has done that is called Salem for Refugees. And we've been going since October 2016. And we're organized to coordinate resources and volunteers to help refugees thrive in our community. We have meetings once a month, and more than 100 people attend those meetings. And we're divided into what are called resource teams. We have housing, health care, and hospitality, employment, education, and ESL. And volunteers kind of fall into those different categories. And within those categories, within those resource teams, we have made incredible networks and connections with existing organizations in Salem, like the Northwest Hub for Bicycles, Mid-Valley Literacy Center, Broadway Life Center, Sparrow Furniture, which is a new business starting for refugees, and then the organization that I co-direct with my husband called Ariana House. I want to tell you that story as well. In 2009, my husband and I went to Georgia and got the opportunity to visit a place called Jubilee Partners, and they've been receiving refugees since the 1980s. And what they do is they bring in refugees who need a sort of a gentler start. Because the way refugee resettlement works all over the country is that refugees come, and within 3 to 6 months they need to be employed and sort of be on their own. Federal funding only lasts for 3 months for refugee resettlement. But this place called Jubilee Partners welcomes refugees and gives them sort of a gentler start, and that's what my husband and I had the vision to do. So we have Ariana House now, 8 years later, and we provide transitional housing for refugees, and we kind of provide also social supports for them. We just said goodbye, very sadly, to our first family, a family of 8 from Iraq, and we're about to welcome a new family, a family of 8 from Democratic Republic of Congo, which will be a new neighbor coming to Salem. So that's about it for me. I tried to do it fast within 5 minutes. And I have information about how people can get involved, which I could pass out. I would say what our greatest needs are right now for refugees coming to Salem are employment, housing, and childcare. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to ask my outlaw, Frankie, to help me pass out information. Thank you very much, and thank you, Salem. You guys should give yourself a hand.
So our next speaker is Mish'al Almuntafki. He is on the Executive Board of Directors at the Salem Islamic Center.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mish'al Almuntafki, and I'm one of the board members of Salem Islamic Center, as Casey stated. I'm honored to be here to this evening to shed a light about this kind of the story of Muslims and Islam with the refugees a little bit. Before we get started, let me begin with a couple of definitions. The word Islam is an Arabic term, comes from the word salam or salam. The word salam, shalom, and even Salem literally all mean the same. It means peace. In the Bible, Jesus, peace be upon him, was referred to as the King of Salem, the King of Peace. Salam also means surrender or peaceful submission to the will and commandment of the Creator, whom we call Allah. Another fact worth mentioning is that Muslims should not be confused with Arabs. A Muslim could be from any race or nationality. Likewise, an Arab could be a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, a Buddhist, an atheist, or any other faith. In fact, Arabs only represent less than 10% of the total Muslim population in the world. There are about 1.7 billion Muslims worldwide. Currently, Islam has become the second largest religion after Christianity, and the fastest growing faith around the world. Just like any other monotheistic religion, it's a guide to life and its direct relationship with the Creator. But somehow, and sadly, it got its unfortunate share of myths and misconceptions. And that's when the refugee part comes in. One of these myths is that Islam promotes violence and preaches to destroy others who believe otherwise, or rid the world of these non-believers, as if only those who believe in Islam should be allowed to live on earth. In reality, however, there is much more damage and destruction being done to places where Islam is the main religion than in any Western civilization. The bombing different countries like Syria, Libya, Iraq, Somalia, and many other countries where thousands of innocent people are having their homes taken away from them, their money stolen from them, their children being kidnapped, their wives and daughters being raped, their elders murdered gruesomely, their infants buried alive, their cities crumbled and burned to ashes, causing mass immigration worldwide, and people being killed who have done absolutely nothing wrong. This is, folks, this is the stories of refugees. If someone does something bad, it's not a reflection of their faith. It is a reflection of them as a person, not their religion. Most Muslims are trying to live their lives in this great country and throughout the world, for that matter, in peaceful and respectful ways. A Muslim will believe in the Quran. And the Holy Quran says in chapter 532, please allow me to read it and recite it in Arabic, and I'll translate it. من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا. Because of that, we ordained for the children of Israel that if anyone killed a person, not in retaliation of murder, and to spread mischief in the land, will be as if he killed all mankind. And if anyone saved a life, will be as if he saved the life of all mankind. Yet most Muslims being blamed for their beliefs. In conclusion, truthfully, most Muslims, just like everybody else, come to this country to have life, liberty, and for the pursuit of happiness. When this country reaches a point of losing the essence of its First Amendment, the freedom of religion, when the rest of its constitutional rights and principles are unequivocally irrelevant. Peace, humanity, and freedom don't start from the outside. They all start within. Thank you so much for your support and for giving us the opportunity to speak in this great event. Assalamu alaikum.
So our next speaker is Ahmed Muhumed. He is a student at West Salem High School, he's a senior, and he's also an Ethiopian. So let him speak there.
You forgot to start my time, so.
Oh, yeah, you
I'm gonna leave a little bit though. I'm just kidding. All right, started. Well, I am gonna start out. Is that
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, one thing for sure is that I can't and I won't be able to speak as great as the ones before me. But I will tell you about myself as a refugee here in the United States. Well, my name is Ahmed Muhumed Abdi Igal Bilal Dalal Nur Bilal Abdullah Ismail Tilnabi Chidwan Absame Kudame Kablala Garon Ismail Chiberti. Yeah, now you're wondering, you're like, oh, you got 25 names? No, I don't. So how this works is, well, you can call me Ahmed, or Oman in that matter. Unprofessionally, I wrote that. A girl on my cross-country team has called me Oman for a year and a half. And I couldn't tell, and one of these days I overheard her arguing with another teammate, and she goes, oh no, it's not Ahmed, it's Oman. And the other I was like, wait, what's happening? And she goes, is your name Oman or Ahmed? And I'm like, it's Ahmed, but you know what? It's okay. You can call me Oman. So what my name I'm gonna explain now is so my first name is Ahmed, and my middle name is Abdul Wahab. Abdul Wahab is my father's name. So my middle name is my father's name, and my last name is my grandfather from my father's side's name. So what happens is now if I have grandchildren, when I have grandchildren, hopefully, my grandchildren will have my name as their last name. And so it just keeps going on and on. It was, in the beginning more of a male, dominated culture, as in any other culture. So basically, the name you keep is basically your father's name as your middle name, and it just keeps going on and on. So now if I'm trying to find someone who's related to me, I can go up to someone and say, hey, you tell me your name, you go from all the way, we have tribes and all that too. So that person reads their name fully, and then in the middle somewhere, I'll find out there's a similar name that I have with them. They'll be like, oh, go back, and then they would do that, and I'd be like, oh, you know what? We are maybe 6 cousins, 8 cousins, 9 cousins. So at some point we're all related, but if someone Somali reads their name and I can tell there's a similarity there, then we all come together at the end. So now I'm going to pass that on, and so I am the second oldest of a family of 9 kids, and I've been in the United States for 5.5 years. Actually 2,033 days to be exact. I wasn't counting it. No, I actually used Google this morning counting for me. All right. So now what I'm going to do is actually these are fun facts maybe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read a line or one fact, and if you believe it is true, you're going to raise your hand, and then we'll find out who's. All right. So my mother has about 33 siblings alive. Among them is a 2-year-old brother. All right, so it seems like, okay, well, all of you guys are my believers, I guess. So yes, that is actually true. My mother does have 33 siblings alive, and I think it's more than that now. I forgot, I lost the count. And then, so I chased hyenas and lions at the age of 6. Isn't that the story of every African? No. So no, I did not actually. A lot of times, a lot of people come up to me and they say, hey, Ahmed, why are you fast? So I also run cross country, I didn't mention that. And so they say, why are you fast? Did you really chase hyenas and lions back home? And I'm like, no, my friend, no, I didn't do that. So that is not true. Actually, there was one time that I got close to hyena, but I didn't chase it. My cousin, older cousin, actually was able to not chase it, but you know, just kind of tell it to go away, I guess. So I've been in Germany. How many of you guys believe that? Awesome, thank you. Yes, I actually have been in Germany. It was for about 5 hours, so I think that counts. That was my way here, you know, to the States. We stopped by, you know, for a little bit. I've been sunburned multiple times. Okay, now I was just trying to be funny, really. No, I've never been sunburned. I guess, you know, I was kind of tan, so. Then another thing is, Ethiopia is a small region in the country of Africa. How many of you guys believe that? All right, well, actually, thank you guys again. No, Ethiopia is not a region. Ethiopia is a country. And a lot of times when someone asks me about, how much time do I have?
No, you're okay, just keep going.
All right. A lot of times when people ask me what, you know, where I was from, I would say I was born in Ethiopia. You know, that's where I'm from. And they would say, oh, so what region in Africa is that? And I'm like, what? And he's like, isn't Africa a country? And I'm like, no, Africa is a continent. And then my favorite food is orange chicken. How many of you guys believe that? All right, if I had a conversation with you already, I'd probably mention it. Yeah, it is actually. I like it a lot. I can't have it every day though because of rain. So I guess if I win a race, I might earn a little bit. All right, so where I'm from. The story goes where I'm from the Somali region of Ethiopia. The Somali region has about 5.3 million Somalis living there. It is all Somali, you know, people that are living there are all Somalis. And so what happened is, in the 1950s, there was a war between Somalia and Ethiopia. And Somalia was trying to, with the help of Italy, was trying to overtake some land from Ethiopia. But actually, the opposite happened. So that region used to be part of Somalia before 1952, I'm going to go with. And so in history, you know, I also went to school there, and so when we were taught that, you know, Ethiopia is the country, and so I consider myself a Somali. And my grandmother, you know, who is in her late 80s now, anytime I ask her, you know, where we were from, she would say we're Somalis, we're Somalians, and so like we're from the country of Somalia because that's the country she was born, except the territory got changed within, you know, her lifespan. So I am Somali, but I consider myself as Somali-Ethiopian because that's where I was born. Okay, in the States. So this is 5.5 years ago. English struggles. So I still have English struggles every once in a while. You know, the accent pops up. Sometimes I say the wrong word, and a lot of times the good thing is I do have a really great cross-country and track and field teammates who I understand that and respect that. So, and everyone else, if you ever have a friend who's from another country struggling with English, just smile and, you know, tell them the right word and don't make them get too nervous because 5 years ago, it was very hard for me to talk to one person, and now I'm actually able to talk in front of, you know, all of you guys, and that is you know, it is a big improvement. But also, if everyone laughed at me every time I said the word wrong or they didn't understand me, you know, I would lose that confidence that I have in me right now. So, and then the cultural struggle. So, you know, culturally, everything is different here. Whether it's the way we live, the way we do a lot of things. So it was very cultural shock for me when I came to the States, and a lot of times I didn't understand what was happening, but, you know, now I'm almost getting there, almost. And then now, so this is, you know, how I started running. So pacer test is how I even found out I was a runner. We have the 20-meter pacer test where you would run back and forth. And so in the PE class, that is. And so 7th grade years when I started school, but I didn't understand a lot of the rules, so a lot of times I just would get out fast, you know, and couldn't go far. But later on in the summer, I trained, and not trained really, but I wanted to do better. I wanted to qualify for a championship competition that was at the end of the school year. And I did end up qualifying for it. That's where Mrs. Makemer comes in, my PE teacher, 8th grade year, comes up to me right after the first pacer test that we had, and she goes, Ahmed, so are you going out for track? And I'm like, no, I am a soccer player, you know, a football player, that's what I actually said. Because they call football in every other country other than the USA, I don't know why. But anyway, she goes, I mean, you know, you can do both. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna go stick, you know, I'm gonna stick with, you know, soccer. And so later on, she, you know, kept doing that over and over, keep asking me that question after every PACER test. And so I go, one of these days I was like, you know what, I might consider that. I actually might do it. And she goes, oh, well, that's awesome. So we ended up doing it. I actually liked it a lot. Was able to do both soccer and track and field practices at the same day. And it was hard, but, you know, later on, it was a talent that I had. I found out through Mrs. Maycomber. Another fun fact about Mrs. Maycomber is that she actually quit. I mean, she retired from the middle school that I went to and moved to Arizona. And I couldn't get a hold of her, and I wasn't in touch with her for like a few years. Later on, I went up to Mrs. Buziza here, our librarian, amazing librarian, and the best teacher around. Actually, she was my teacher last year in my Arabic class. And so I went up to her and I said, hey, you know, she asked me, she's like, oh, so what happened to, you know, are you in contact with Mrs. Maycomber? When I told her about this story, I go, not really. And she goes, you know what, I will try my best to, you know, get you guys in touch. So she did end up getting her email for me from our middle school's principal. And I, you know, talked to her, emailed her back and forth for a little while. And then what happened is she goes, Ahmed, when's your last cross-country race? And I'm like, that is a state meet in, you know, a year. And she goes, you know what, I will be there. And a year passed by. This past November, she flew from Arizona to watch me race, 15-minute long race for, you know, in shorts. And after all, she was crying, and I was the happiest guy because I was able to show the talent. I was able to show the talent that I had that I couldn't find in the beginning to the same person that actually had shown me, that said, hey, you know, this is something that you're good at. She, you know, flew thousands of miles, you know, to get here. And when we had an interview, there was a running reporter that came up to us and said, hey, I want to interview you guys. You guys have an amazing story. And so he interviewed us, and so he asked me, were you thinking of her when you were in the middle of the race? And I said, yeah, absolutely, because I wanted to make sure every time I fell back, I would think of her, because just the fact that she was, you know, willing to go that far just to watch me race, it just meant, you know, the world to me. So, and she goes, you made it worth it. And so it was an amazing story. And Mrs. Maycomber, I will always hold everything that I have, that I'm able to do, I'll have that gratitude towards her. And running, you know, so I run a lot, not lately really because of IT band problems that I've had, but I'll be running more as well too. So high school is a lot different than middle school. When I went to middle school, actually I was in the ESL program that as Jenny mentioned earlier. The ESL program, what it does is basically helps you improve your English. I started at level 2, I think, as a 7th grader, and if you come to high school with level 2, if you're in level 2 in high school, you do not get any English credit. So what that means is your freshman year, you are in that class and go into that English class, you really aren't receiving any credit for that class that you're going to towards your graduation requirements. But fortunately, I was able to get out of the ESL class before I got to high school. But not because I just wanted it, but because I was able to, and that was really a great help, and that ESL program definitely helped me a lot. So high school is fun, I guess. Probably not so much. My friends here would understand. But definitely, great eye-opener for me, and helped me a lot to learn everything that I really need. From here on out to just kind of improve, and every day is a new day and a new lesson. So we're all learning, right? So future plans. I have committed to run at Boise State. As far as major goes, I'm still undecided, but we will see. In the future, nothing has to be decided within the next few years, so it's still kind of along the air. So. Now, culture and faith. Islam is the official religion of Somalis, and everything that we really do plays, religion itself plays a huge part in a lot of things that we do, and so what we believe in is one God, and Muhammad as the latest messenger of God, and Jesus as a messenger of God, as well as Moses, Abraham, and a lot of other prophets that are mentioned within the Quran as well. Culturally, the Islamic faith, like I said earlier, plays a big role in our practices, whether it's what we eat or what we wear. Another fun fact about what we eat is we don't eat pork. So I did have once, I think, at a Blazers game, I had a bacon macaroni, and I thought it was the bacon turkey. And I was learning at the time too. So I did end up eating that, and I did regret for the rest of the night. Not because I have anything against pork, it's just because we don't believe in eating it, and it's just really not something that we do, and not something that my relatives and families have done before me. So and then did that come back? All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna give you guys a chance to ask me a question you have. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So you can come up to me anytime, ask me any questions you have. Seems like we're running out of time. All right.
Okay, so our next speaker is, sorry Mo, I'm going to butcher your name.
It's all right.
Moayad Adham. He's a Syrian immigrant and a commissioner on the Salem Human Rights Commission.
Good evening, everybody. You, sir, is hilarious. But also, you totaled my sense of humor. I don't have any more jokes. So I don't like to laugh. Good evening again. I'd like to express my greatest gratitude first for being here tonight, and special thanks to Casey, the extraordinary, sophisticated, inspiring young lady who did a great job talking to me on behalf of your school. You may know or may not know the reason I'm here today. The reason I'm here this evening is first to share my personal story with you as an immigrant, and also to give my humble testimony about living in this country and being a part of this community for the last 4 years. So first, my name is Moayad Adham. Repeat that and get $100. Yeah? Except you. Say it. And you. Oh, okay. First, I would like to start from my story from back home. 30 years ago in Syria, I was born in a loving home as a result of an outstanding love story. Soon I grew up to realize that the school system was not as loving as home. From 1st to 12th grade, I don't recall using a clean restroom even one time. I don't recall walking to school without feeling the intimidation and the fear of the possibility of being physically or verbally abused on that day, which was the norm. What made that possibility even greater was the fact that I was not a good student, whatever that means. And the reason behind that was first struggling with ADHD, which is an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And the second thing was the atmosphere at home, where my mother was chronically sick and my father was mostly absent, working 14 to 16 hours a day so he can feed us. Somehow I made it up to high school. And by that time, for some reason, I decided to join the gym. So I became a bodybuilder. And this is how I started getting my self-esteem back, little by little. I made it out of high school, and I made a decision to go to college. So I went to college, and I earned an associate degree in mechanical engineering. By that time, since the military service is mandatory in Syria, I had to make an option, whether I stay and join the military or whether I leave for 5 years, then come back and pay $8,000. And this is how they cancel you military service. So I decided to leave. It was really hard indeed. I had to leave my beloved family, my friends, my lovely neighborhood, everything. Now, before I left, my parents had to remind me to hold tight onto the values and principles they had taught me. They assured me that those values are universal, and they will work everywhere. Such values as honesty, cooperation, forgiveness, and most importantly, unconditional love to every creature on this planet. And so I left, with nothing but those words. I lived in 2 other countries before ending up on this great land 4 years ago. Genuinely speaking, I was really excited when I got here. I've always heard about the land of the free. I've always heard about the American dream, which I used to think it's all about money. Turns out it's not, to me at least. So the beginning was fun. But 6 months after I arrived, things didn't go as expected. I was at the risk of homelessness when there was now a dear friend of mine who was kind enough to offer me a shelter. I didn't know anyone here, beside my son, right there. He was kind enough to offer me a shelter, and that was my first direct interaction with someone local from here. Prior to that, my intention was to retreat to my own bubble, look for people who speak my language, who believe what I believe, who look like me. But thank goodness, it didn't happen. That gentleman and his family filled me up with love, compassion, and unconditional support. They helped me out until I was able to stand back on my feet, lace up my shoes, and head back to work. Today, after 4 years, I became a human rights activist, where I volunteer on the Commission of Human Rights and Relations in the city of Salem. I also became an artist 2.5 years ago, visual artist. I had no idea where that talent was. In addition to that, I'm a mechanical engineer after navigating a few jobs, from selling women's shoes at the mall, working as a laborer in Portland, working as a cab driver, but finally I'm a mechanical engineer again. Most importantly, I stand here today knowing that there's no way I would have gotten to this point without you, and you, the community. No way. Not only me, an average immigrant needs your support at the end of the day. Now, it's no longer a secret that some immigrants choose not to play by rules. Very few. But guess what? They probably don't know what they're missing on. Probably don't know that sooner or later they will get caught and they will be shaped up by the law. But this is a country of laws at the end of the day, and manipulation doesn't work in this country. However, I guarantee you that the vast majority of immigrants are here with big dreams, willing to cooperate and whatever it takes to grow up and help develop in this society. Not to mention that new immigrants usually come here with smaller egos than an average ego, which helps them learn better, adopt better, and be able to learn better, and there is your opportunity to engage with them. My own ideology was 3 years ago, I realized that I need to engage in the community. So what I did, I started hanging out at coffee shops. I started looking for public events. I started looking for community gatherings, because it was one quote by Dr. Martin Luther King when he said, the reason why people fail to get along is because they fear each other. And they fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated. So that's what brought me closer to the community. At the end, I believe that unity, speaking of Dr. Luther King, I believe that unity is very crucial for developing societies. So if we look at Salem here today, yes, it's nice to welcome immigrants or refugees, but to me, the ultimate goal is not just to welcome them and provide them with everything. The ultimate goal is to engage them in developing the society with us. Some people think that our society is good, it doesn't need much development, like the other societies. But unfortunately, a few things I'm working on these days, for example, in Marion and Polk County, we have 1,660 street homeless on any given day. We have 1,397 homeless students in Salem Kaiser School District. We have 200 to 500 victims of domestic violence every year in the city of Salem. Within the last 20 years, 1 million women were subject to sexual harassment. So today I say, what can I do about this? What can I do to reduce this number? So from here I invite you just to engage with your fellow human being, and let's build it together. Let's fix it together. Thank you so much.
First, another round of applause for our speakers, because they're amazing and wonderful. Okay, so now that our speakers have finished sharing their wonderful stories, now it's time for the kind of mingling conversation piece. We'll be bringing out our newspaper, which covers all different aspects of diversity in Salem. I interviewed most of these people in various aspects for this publication. And then you'll just get to talk. And I encourage you to introduce yourself to someone new tonight. That's why you have your name tag, okay? And in fact, I don't just encourage you, I dare you. Introduce yourself to someone new, so now you have to do it, okay? So after I say thank you and have a wonderful night, you get up and you mingle, get some more food, do whatever you need to do, and have a lovely night. Thank you so much, everyone.